Hey, what's up everybody? Hope you are well today. Just a quick behind the scenes, we're working on some infographics, some charts and graphs, and we're working on espresso rigs for all of them. We're going to make a pack out of this with dozens and dozens of charts and graphs, all pre-animated or espresso rigged up for you, so you can keep your eyes open for that. But what I want to talk to you today is about depth of field and some ways that you can control your depth of field and animate it really easily. So if you haven't used depth of field before, if you switch to the physical renderer and then you go to your physical option right here, we have depth of field, and if you check that on, it's going to turn depth of field on. And then go ahead and put a camera in your scene. And if you go to the physical tab, we have this movie camera checkbox. If we turn that on, we're going to have a bunch of options that are going to mimic a real life movie camera, and the settings are going to respond the same way in Cinema 4D. So if you've ever used a DSLR, you know about an f-stop and what these numbers are going to do. But basically, the lower the number, the shallower the depth of field is how it's going to work out. So let's crank this down to 0.2. This is really low, but it'll just kind of exaggerate what's going on here. Actually, let me turn off my ambient occlusion so it's a little bit faster. So you can see that we have pretty shallow depth of field, and it looks like the focus point is somewhere over here. So if we go to the 4 view, and we look up here, one way that you can select your focus is by going to some of the options in the details. If you go to the object tab, you have your focus distance, and you can kind of see that this point right here is our focus distance. So we could animate this guy and move this to wherever we want it to be in focus. But I found that it's a little bit tricky and it's kind of hard to visualize. So another thing that people will do is they'll go to this focus object. And if you want this arrow to be in focus, you might go to your graph and find that arrow. You might drag that into here. The problem is that this arrow is very large. So it's hard to really gain control over what's in focus and what part of that arrow is in focus. I believe it's just the center null, the axis of that object, but you can't really animate that, and it's not very easy. So what I've been doing for a long time is actually making a focus null. So I make a null and I call it focus null. And then we'll go to that camera, and under that focus object, we'll put in that null. And the nice thing about a null is it's a specific point, so you know exactly what is in focus and what isn't. So if we drag it over to here, now we know that this end of our model will be in focus. So we'll go ahead and do a test render right here. So you can see that it's very easy to pinpoint exactly what parts of your model you want to be in focus. Now the other great thing about a null is that you can animate it very, very easily. So if we want it to rack focus and we want it to end up focusing on this side, but in the beginning we want it to be focused over here, we'll just put the null over here somewhere, make a keyframe, and if we hit render in the beginning of our animation, the focus point is going to be way on the left side of the screen. You can see that this right side is all blurry, but the left side will be in focus. And then as we go through the animation, that null is going to move over to the right side, and that's going to be how we create a rack focus. So it'll be something like this. Left side's in focus, and as we go through our animation, we're going to rack focus over to the right side. All right, one last tip on depth of field, and that is to really think about your camera position. The depth of field, getting really shallow slice of depth of field, is very dependent on your camera position. Because if we do a shot like this, where it's coming straight onto your object, there's no depth to your scene. There's no Z depth, no foreground, background. It's all flat. But if we put the camera to the side at an angle like this, we're going to have a lot more foreground and background, a lot of Z depth, and that's going to translate into that really nice shallow sliver of depth of field. So if you haven't done much with depth of field, just really think about your camera positioning. It's going to make a huge difference, and you'll get that really cool effect by doing that. Hope that helps you guys out. Thanks for checking out Pixel Lab, and we'll talk to you next time.